The Spirituality Now podcast is sponsored by Delaflor Teachings International, a spiritual and systemic coaching and consulting company with the mission to help individuals, businesses, and corporations create brilliant futures through sustainable transformation. Also sponsored by the Network for Human Empowerment, a philanthropic TV network that serves Spanish-speaking communities with free, conscious education aimed to empower individuals to become the best versions of themselves. And our podcast producer, Ascend Media, Authority Syndication, delivering premium video marketing, podcast production, and social syndication.
Welcome to the Spirituality Now podcast, a podcast committed to supporting you in your journey to life mastery and personal enlightenment. Welcome to the Spirituality Now podcast. I am your host, Yvonne Delaflor. And, I'm just going to get into the podcast with our guest today. Usually I do a lot of announcements and I pay tribute to our sponsors, which practically it's me. My company sponsors this podcast so we can stay philanthropic and we can stay open for anybody to be able to speak whatever they want. Right now, freedom of speech, freedom of choice, it's something I decided to protect. Hence, I'm not receiving any other sponsors at this moment other than people that are also protecting, human rights, which is one of them is freedom of choice, freedom of speech. So in this podcast, my guests can speak about whatever they want because I'm not funded by any other than my own creation. So I'm so happy to be with you. This podcast today has what I call really, an embodied, not only human, but he's totally the representation of what a modern spiritual teacher will be for me, a good human being, embodiment of core values, embodiment of reverence, of service, of leadership, that has very strong principle foundations, and that of a leadership that is really required for the future. It's my beloved brother friend. He's also a mentor, a wise teacher, and his name is Satyen Raja. So Satyen, whose name means truth in Sanskrit, has claimed his birthright from the universal expanse for the pursuit of enlightened human potential. From a very young age, Satyen is both a master teacher and master student with over 40 years of rigorous study and practice in developing higher consciousness. He speaks from the truth of his direct experiences, which I love. Nothing more valuable than direct experience. That usher you and anyone that is blessed to actually do the work with him into a sacred life of embodied love and wisdom for a profoundly enhanced life. Satyen has guided some of the world's greatest leaders and visionaries into their most transcendental peak existence. Check this out, everyone. We're not talking about peak performance anymore. It's peak existence. His all-encompassing and direct teachings emanate from his decades on the spiritual journey, aka from doing the work. He supports his students through an awakened path and teachings, a path of teachings and practices that invoke their highest living potential, where life has a depth of meaning and grounded in personal virtue. Unifying the various realms of success from expanding businesses, multiplying revenues, and invigorating passionate intimacy. Your life and the life of anyone that really studies with Satyen and his beloved wife, who we will have her in the podcast too, expands holistically. For leaders who are always ready to recreate unimaginable powerful ways, Satyen guides them into experiencing the new paradigm of success that is peak existence. He has transformed more than 100,000, it says in his bio students, but I'm going to say lives, and their generations to follow, because when you touch the life of one, you touch the life of at least 12 generations in the past and forward. So just multiply this. internationally and leads private and group mentorship for top CEOs, high impact individuals, and world leaders. We will ask Satyen, at the end of this podcast, to give us all his events, his dates, so you can start training with him. It's unbelievable, loves. His corporate work involves cultural, advisory, and training executive teams of elite organizations to shift from chaos, overwhelm, and struggle into aligned, coherent, high performing teams. And I believe we all need that right now. His work is needed for this pandemic evolutionary process that we are going through. Since November 2020, Satyen has been serving as coordinator for the International Institute for Peace Studies and Global Philosophy in Canada. This brings various post responsibilities and opportunities for networking, leadership, and it's so much. Satyen is a calm guide to many people, a wisdom teacher, also a wisdom keeper, and an experienced training and expert in meditation, conflict resolution, which is truly needed right now, and someone who knows how to diffuse conflict situations. I mean, we need this more than ever. And I'm also going to add, he's an author, teacher, a guide, mentor, leader, incredible brother, incredible wisdom keeper. But he's also this frequency, in my experience, that just within his presence, there is an ascension, a transcendental transformation of your mind, of your spirit, and your soul. So this is Satyen Raja. Welcome, beloved brother, friend, master, teacher,
Oh, my beloved
everything.
sister Yvonne.
Welcome, beloved.
Um, I'm blushing cheek to cheek, and your introduction of me is very, very gracious. And
Mm.
yeah, I love you very much, and as fully as you've expressed some of my attributes, I want to, with a deep bow, have that same reverence for you, and I see you as a just blaringly you, and in that clarity of who you are and your willingness to just to express it fully, how many lives that you are supporting, and all those that you are on that are on your team. So deep bow of reverence, fellow warrior, fellow sage.
Oh, thank you. And I love that you said fellow warrior, fellow say you have a group that, is not a group. That I don't know if anybody can join, but it's called the Warrior Sage, right? Community that, my gosh, that community of yours has given to me, to the people I serve, such a boost of not only spirituality, but of groundedness and of coherence between my mind, my spirit, my heart. And it keeps my spirituality really fresh. I think that that's something that you and your beloved have, that you bring only these wisdom teachings, but you make it really practical. So let's begin with that. Let's begin, like, where does the journey of Satyen begin? I know you are a martial art expert too. You are a devotee practitioner of all of these wisdom teachings. So where did Satyen Raja, as the warrior sage, as the beloved of a humanity that needs this love, these warrior leadership skills, where did it all begin, Satyen?
Well, I've been very blessed to have beautiful Gujarati parents, which is a region of Western India. I was born in Uganda, and they raised me with beautiful, old-fashioned, ancient Hindu Indian values and love. And my brother and my parents, who are still alive today, and then my wife and my children have given me so much support through all the years. But it started really from I've been very blessed to be born into a crucible of a very loving family, and I don't take that for granted. Being on the path I've seen. Many folks have had challenging upbringings and situations, but I've been very blessed that way. And I think that inspiration from my father when I was young, to when I asked him about religious, rituals in Hinduism, which him and my mother would perform in the morning, he would simply say, son, you have to discover God for yourself. We're just following rituals we've learned. We're simple spiritual people, but you have a thirst for something more. Go speak to the rabbis, priests, imams. Go speak to go around the world and then find out from other people what is God to them, and then you must find God what it is for you. And I was frustrated as a kid, but now I realize what a liberating um, mindset that they had to for me to explore my own journey of truth.
Wow, that's super powerful, Satyan, because I always say that to honor where we're going forward, we must honor where we came from. And you just started this podcast with that. It said, you are a living example of what leadership means because you are honoring your parents. And I love that your parents, that was my dad, very similar to you. It's like, use all of these, but you make your own choices, make your own decisions, and have your own relationship with God. And what a blessing, Satyan. What a blessing, and it's a
Thank you.
blessing that you give to all of us that have the opportunity to be in your presence. So once you encounter that openness of you gotta find God your own way, your own spirit, what happens next?
Well, I had some very interesting experiences. Some would say spiritual synchronicity experiences. I didn't really understand the world. I grew up, my father's side entrepreneurial for years, decades, generations. My mother's side, all social servants, Gandhians, all in the care of humanity in some way. So usually oil and water in the Indian tradition, in many, many forms, these two pursuits. But what happened was, they came together and they were my first gurus. And I learned from them how to be of great service. All the businesses, restaurants, all the different forms of businesses my parents have gone up and seen the ups and downs of life, which I rode along with in operating businesses at the skin of our teeth and achieving great heights and losing lots and or all of it.
Yes, yes.
That journey has been quite epic. And I believe that I saw how my mother's dedication, devotion to the family,
Wow.
devotion to faith and trust uh, would would s- would bring us continuously back together, around food.
Oh,
And she would demand that we stop fighting and we love each other before we even break some food together and sit us down on the
wow.
so no matter if we were yelling and screaming, but every time we started a meal, we had to come to goodness with each other. Had to kiss each other, hug each other, or you don't get, or we're not going to move on and get fed.
Wow, whoa. Yeah, I just felt like the energy of the Divine Mother with your mother. What a powerful thing you just shared. I'm considering naming this podcast, coming back together, the power of coming back together by the Divine Mother, because you just said the word and the frequency and the energy of devotion, which in Sanskrit is called bhakti, right?
Yes.
And bhakti is something that transcends even our mind, even intention. It is really a force that kind of creates this, what A Course in Miracles speaks of, which is creates a holy moment where I love, I can I would love to see the image of where your mom will demand. I love that. I demand it to come together. I think we need your mother right now for the worldwide situation, Satya.
Well, my mother is the president of a Gujarati Seniors Association with
Wow.
hundreds of members, of which she, before COVID hit, was leading monthly live gatherings with entertainment and experiences and fun and leadership, and political leaders would come by to sweeten up the seniors in for votes and you name it. And she still is now starting it up again, on online and such. But so I think one of the things that I saw early on was this idea that when given the opportunity to lead, just lead. You don't need any books, teachings, ideas. You just
Boom.
need to, you
Yes.
don't need anything. You don't need any, just when given the opportunity to lead, it shows up at your doorstep. Just lead, step in. You will never be prepared. You will never feel that you have enough. No matter what
Wow.
heights you will attain, no matter what levels of confidence you attain, it doesn't matter. The point is you step forward when given the opportunity to lead. And I believe that's the foundational transmission they gave me, which prepared me to be with my kung fu masters, which I came across when I was young, when I saw kung fu on TV, and my heart blew open, and I realized that was my path and my past life, that I was
Yes.
related to, that I was part of these warrior traditions. And and I sought out teachers, and